Hello friends, and welcome to another belated video from my series Quick Thoughts On, in which I always talk about different stories from the rich Star Trek universe. 30 years and a bunch of weeks ago, the next episode of Star Trek The Next Generation premiered. It was called Deja Q, and these are my honest opinions about it. We start the episode in the middle of the action, and we see our heroes behaving like heroes behave should, trying to save a planet of fish people. Their moon is on a collision course with their planet, and they can't find any reason for it and are unable to deal with the situation, no matter how hard they try. When suddenly they meet somebody they didn't expect. A naked Q appears on the bridge. The crew, of course, assumes that the moon thing is just another of his tricks, but he claims that he is not responsible for this one, that he even can't be responsible for it. He was kicked out of the Q continuum and is now an ordinary human. And for some reason, nobody from the crew believes it. And this is basically my only complaint. Everybody is not only not willing to accept the fact that he has no powers, despite all of the evidence, everybody is also extremely mean to him. I mean extremely mean. Completely uncharacteristic to a Starfleet crew. If they would tone it down, and I mean really tone it down, I would consider this to be a perfect Season 3 episode. Q wanted to be a human because he considers the Enterprise crew and especially Jean-Luc Picard his friends. So why are their hearts filled with so much hatred? That doesn't feel like the enlightened people of the 21st century, which have thrown all of the problems of mankind away and progressed as a society. When Picard orders Worf to bring Q to prison, Q has a really good question. Why would he allow it if he had his powers? That is a very good question, but they ignore it and Q ends up in jail. Later, Picard visits him, again asking him to do something about the moon situation. He still thinks that Q is lying, even though he let himself put in jail and Picard has just seen him taking a nap. Why would a godlike creature take a nap? I know I am repeating myself, but the behavior of all of our main characters is completely out of character in this episode. Q wants to be useful, so Picard allows him to work under Geordi in engineering and try to use his brain to solve their little moon problem, and gives him an unusual babysitter, Mr. Data. And this is the heart and soul of the whole episode. An android teaches a former god how to be a human. This is what I like in my Star Trek. Some, let's call it, moral anchor. I don't really care about tons of CGI, explosions, or F-bombs. I need short morality plays. Q has some useful tips, like changing the gravitational constant of the universe, but this is Season 3 TNG and not Voyager. Something so stupid can't be done, thankfully. His back is hurt and Dr. Crusher needs to check him, and he later gets hungry for the first time ever, so Data brings him to 10 Forward. And the crew still think that he's just pretending it. Oh my god, and the worst scene in this episode, Guinan comes to him, and she stabs him with a fork, and enjoys watching him scream with pain. Why is she such a psycho? And nobody in 10 Forward reacts in any way. Is this a normal thing for them? It's normal to see the bartender stabbing the customers. Why are they so needlessly cruel to him? Maybe it's just me, but I was raised in the belief that the correct behavior is turning the other cheek. It's almost so mean that it could be an episode of Kurtzman-era Trek. And we meet the true antagonists of this episode. No, the antagonists are not the Enterprise crew members, but a small energy cloud. It's actually a species called the Calamaraid. They now know that Q is powerless and want revenge for something that he has done to them back when he was omnipotent. So now they attack Q in 10 Forward. Data is the only one who tries to help him, and he is under attack until Geordi manages to get more power to the shields. So Q didn't arrive to the Enterprise only because he likes them, He came there for protection, because Starfleet protects creatures which need protection. Which is correct, but this is followed by Riker claiming they should leave him to the energy creatures. Why so mean, people? Q again wants to help Geordi, or to be more precise, he wants that Geordi will work for him. So he now has to learn what a hurt ego is. They are working in engineering when the Calamarain attack again. They pick him up. Not sure what they are trying to do, maybe kidnap him. Anyway, Data, again as the only one, tries to grab him, but both of them get electrocuted and both of them lose consciousness. Data is damaged, he can move, but Q is offended that everybody cares more about a machine's well-being than about his own. Then he finally learns his lesson after he talks with Picard. He is a bad human, and he always will be. Data, the machine, is a much better human than he himself. After a short thinking about his life, he decides that he wants to die as a hero. He steals a shuttle and tries to lure the aliens to him and save the Enterprise. Picard doesn't want to allow him to commit suicide, because he finally understood that Q is not pretending to be mortal. Oh wait, no, he actually says that he doesn't want to lose the shuttle. Okay, this time it was mean, but pretty funny. I really hope that even in the previous cases they were trying to be funny, but they can't lock the tractor beam on him. The reason for it is clear as soon as the episode cuts to the shuttle. Q is visited by Q. Q, just like Q, is also a Q, and the Q have noticed what Q has decided to do, and were pretty impressed. Okay, this is confusing. I'll just call for the next few minutes John Delancey's character Our Q, and the other guy Other Q. After a small backchat between our Q and the other Q, in which we see that the other Q is a horrible overactor, he tells him how impressed he is by our Q's selfless action and decides to give him his powers back. So hooray, our Q is again the charming anti-hero we all know and love. He gets rid of the energy aliens and appears on the bridge playing with a mariachi band. Ah, the good old days when white people were allowed to play music with people of other ethnic groups. Now this would be called cultural appropriation or something like that, and he'd be cancelled on Twitter. This is really the most charming scene of the episode, and nobody wants to party with him. They don't want the cigars, and Riker nor Worf want the hot ladies. Cheer up, people. So he accepts that he should leave the bridge because they don't want to party with him, and he gives Data a lovely goodbye present, which everybody has seen a million times before. Data laughs. And oh, by the way, Q is the hero in the end. He has solved the problem with the moon without even waiting till they thank him. Such a weird little story where basically the Enterprise crew are almost the villains and Q is the hero. Makes you question a lot of things, and that is, in this case, a good thing. This episode has a very interesting history. I remember seeing an interview with Mike Pillar, who said a story about the creation of this episode, much better than I will ever be able to, but I haven't found it in time for this video. But basically, they were running out of filmable scripts, so they put together quickly a story about Q, who pretends that he lost all of his powers, and it should be a wild goose chase across different planets, but in reality it was just one of his games. It was planned to be a comedy, but when they went with this story to Gene Roddenberry, who at this time was still the main head of the series, and had story approval, he gave him an important question. What is this story about? And Pillar had no clue what to respond. Roddenberry insisted on this episode having some deeper meaning, so they reworked it and it became an interesting philosophical number about what it means to be human, and it became a story of Q and Data. And when I watched this episode, it was very clear that they were trying to do two completely different tones. They were trying to be funny and at the same time also deep. which can be done, but I don't think it works in this specific case. I think the crew and their behavior should work much better in a comedy, in which the whole premise of the episode it would be one of Q's games, but now that it was reworked in a way that he indeed lost his powers, our heroes are mean to a guy who needs their help, and I don't like it. But other than that, I love everything else about this episode. I love the story, I love Q's dialogue with everybody about humanity and mankind. I love the commentary on our species, and I absolutely love the visual effects. I mean, the footage of the Enterprise hitting the planet's atmosphere is one of the most beautiful looking shots we have seen on the show so far, and must be watched at least in HD. Even though I have a giant problem with the overall tone and stuff, I still love this episode, and I think it's one of the best episodes of Season 3. Overall, on my standard scale from 0 to 10, where 0 is complete garbage, 10 is a masterpiece, and 5 is just average, I would give this episode 8 out of 10. The mean parts are too much for me. Other than that, I love it. But as always, these were just my opinions. Let me know what did you think about this episode. Did you love it, hate it, or did you think it's just average? Let me know what you think down in the comment section, and I'll be back with another video on Friday. Thank you very much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, and see you all soon. Bye.